I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Friday. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. That was a much better one than the piddly one that happened the other day. That was pathetic. It's much better. Good job, you. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike, Gustafson, pudding behind the glass. Kyler Brown taking care of us. Gus, let me ask you this. Before we get into some quotes, we'll also get Sheil Wood today, new defensive coordinator. We're about to hear from Coach Leftwich. We got this question. I think Bullfighter had it earlier in the week. So do you guys feel like Tech had home run hires? Do you think they could have done better? You know, just asking what our thoughts were on the coordinator hires. And as far as, for me, Gus, as far as home run hires, it feels right now like you've got a couple really, really good ones. You had a couple of them that, on one hand, you basically outpaid a fellow Big 12 school to get him, who just has done some really good things in his career. And then you also got that up-and-coming, like, he's the new hotness there. Mm-hmm. And you got a guy that a lot of other programs were interested to, and you landed him. But as far as to label it truly home run hires, it's a little bit of a wait and see sort of thing. Like, it feels like you nailed it right now, but you also have to see what you get produced from it. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think there's some, I mean, the industry is telling us about these guys, like, hey, these dudes are on the rise, and then there's immediate sort of verification, if you will, of the fact that, hey, the one was interviewing at a conference foe when you hired him, when you got him. And so, you know, not that you have to hire the guy because somebody else in the Big 12 wants him, but if you're not sure, like, what's the world telling us about him? Well, you know, I think he's talking to Tarleton State. You know, nothing against Tarleton, but you know, is that the pond we need to be fishing in? Right. No, this guy's 30 years old, and he's interviewing at the University of Utah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a Big 12 and a team you'll play next year.
Although they weren't this year, a very successful program who's not used to the type of year they had, and are looking to invest in a guy like that can make them a threat immediately again.
Yeah, so it's not just us. It's not just us, you know, blurring our eyes and saying, "Man, we really like that guy." Mm-hmm. He's from a branch on our coaching tree.
And then you can go on the flip side of that. From like looking, okay, well, how have other teams handled it? There's one that you directly compete with. And honestly, the two programs in all sports, past just being conference opponents, but also being pretty close to each other and having some similarities, try to compare each other with Oklahoma State, right? Look at their hires. I think if I'm a Polk fan and I see Doug Meacham as the offensive coordinator, I think that is a nightmare. I don't know about Grantham, a little bit interested there, but still, like, when you compare the two, I feel a lot better how you hired than how they hired.
Right? I mean, look, they had to make their hires after, I mean, in the wake of a 2-10 season, and in the days following, head coach may or may not be here. You know, 36 hours later, okay, he's going to be here. And now your phone rings. Now, it's an offensive coordinator. It's Power 4. I get it. Defensive coordinator. You know, and they didn't have to go get their guy from Podunk State. But those are different circumstances than, you know, where we were. I mean, because, if you think about it, like if Oklahoma State calls right now, you're going, hey, if we don't have a good year next year, we're out. I mean, you're not taking that job knowing that, oh, yeah, hey, we're on the climb. Yeah. I mean, now, you could climb out of a 2-10 hole, You don't have to do very much to get past 2-10, but I don't think that's the measure. I don't think that's the. I don't think that's what the fan base is aspiring to. You know, I mean, because you couldn't argue with the fact that if they went 6-6 next year and got to Independence Bowl or whatever, you can go, hey, it's, you know, they turned it around. Last year they were 2-10, and we'd all sit here and go, that's a pretty good turnaround there. But that's not what that fan base has been used to. It's not what that skipper's been used to. But,
let's hear from Coach Leftwich real quick. He talked about just basically his decision to come to Texas Tech.
I think first and foremost, being a kid who grew up in Texas, I think from afar I've always looked at this place and seen the success that it's had and seen the potential, for growth. And, it's a place where you can go and compete for championships. So, excited to be here. That conversation with Coach McGuire and kind of his vision for the program and the culture that he's building here was something that I was really excited to be a part of.
He also gave or told what his message personally to the team was. I did get to talk to the team. Coach McGuire let me introduce myself. I think the first thing was just that I was excited, and it's an honor, for me to be here. The second thing is that, we're going to continue to play an attacking style of offense. So play will be very similar, to what they're used to. And then, the last piece, which I think is huge, is, I'm here to build relationships with those guys and help them in any way I can. So I think that's what, these next couple of weeks as they're getting ready for the bowl game, that's what's going to be really important for me with these current guys is just kind of getting to know them and getting around them and building those relationships. Not that it necessarily had to be this way, Gus, but I think it is helpful, and hopefully this makes it a smooth transition for a lot of these guys as they learn his system, that there is some similarities to what they've just been. And also hopefully that means it can help, magnify some of the strengths that you do have on the roster offensively this year, when you do have a guy that has some similarities from the offense that is going to be run now to what you were just running with Kitley. And again, it's not the exact same, and you're also going to have to deal with like different terminology and stuff like that. But hopefully that is just another plus as far as getting the ball rolling a little earlier on figuring out things that he wants and like things he wants run.
And it's the 8 zillionth reason why we get that question. Why wouldn't you just turn down a bowl game? Who cares? It's not the college football playoff. This right here. However many extra practices it is, what is it, 10, 15? I don't know. However many extra practices you get, this is extended spring training, man. This is new coaches coming in and getting to look at their guys doing stuff rather than meeting them in the weight room and shaking hands between sets on the squat rack.
Which is a big thing of what he and Coach Wood on the defensive side are doing. It's a lot of evaluation and figuring out strengths and how can I use this guy? What do I already think so-and-so needs to work on right now if he's going to see the field? All of that stuff is the phase they're in right now.
Especially with, because they're able to watch film and know what guys did this past year, who will be back next year. But that red-shirted kid over there that everyone's excited about, you get to see him as close to full speed as you're going to get without short of putting him in game time. I mean, that's probably where their time is best spent, while Juice Johnson and Ayu and those guys can work a continuation, basically the end of the 2024 season.
Right. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. We will go back in time when we come back.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Wasn't me. This is like twice this week. Producers are trying to get me yelled at back there. I've never done anything like that in my life. I've never set a bad example. It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully you got a great weekend in store. Clint, Gus, Puddin'. We are live from the First United Bank studio for 2 more hours. Tonight we have Lubbock Cooper basketball. Girls at 5, boys at 6:30, 100.7 The Score. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that welcome there. If you would like to watch us, you can watch us in the app, just like you can watch us on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. We got this on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Robert. A field goal fest broke out last night. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. 12-6.
Yeah,
especially with like two
in rough weather.
And I know rough weather and I don't know, injuries on the roster and just, I don't know, drops also. But when you think of Shanahan and McVay, you don't exactly think of 12-6 games.
Did y'all hear? This is totally random, kind of not really, but did you hear the stuff about Deebo Samuel this past weekend? After the Sunday game, he made a tweet saying something about how he wasn't struggling, he was just not getting the ball. And then the community notes added onto it, and it said he is indeed struggling. He leads his team in drops.
Yeah.
And then last night,
a couple
he
big
dropped
ones.
a touchdown, in my opinion, that really could have easily been a touchdown with how good Deebo is after the catch.
Oh, man.
And it was just ironic. I thought it was funny.
How about also, I thought this story was crazy. So, Devondre Campbell, he quits legitimately, like not like he quit on his team out there. Legitimately wouldn't go in for Dre Greenlaw. And I think Campbell, if I have this story correct, Campbell has been the starter for most of the season, if not all of it, with Greenlaw out. And now Greenlaw, who's a great player, comes back and is healthy and takes that spot back.
This is his first time being back since the Achilles injury.
Right.
In Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's how I didn't really. Yeah, there you go. That's the timeline. Well, Greenlaw gets his spot back, and Campbell wouldn't go sub in for him. Legitimately walks to the locker room in the third quarter today. Gets cut.
Yeah, the Turk.
Like, what are you doing?
One of the post-game player interviews, like a guy at his locker was saying, yeah, he's probably going to get cut today. You just don't do that. I mean, that's talking about a teammate. Like, you just don't do that. I mean, that's how you get fired, period.
I think it was George Kittle. I'm not sure if it was.
Kittle was fired up from the podium. This was a different player, but you get it. I mean, like it's universal.
Fred Warner, too, had something to say about it. He felt very strongly about it. And it was kind of like an Antonio Brown moment without all the removing the shoulder pads and
without all the
deuces
psycho.
up.
Well, and how
all
does
the psycho history and everything?
How does anybody else sign him? Like, how do you take yourself seriously as an organization if you sign him?
I offer him like a dime on the dollar. Hey, you want to come back and try it? I mean, I know you started last year 10 games in the NFL, so I know you can play a little bit.
That's
but
crazy.
I ain't giving you real money, and there ain't nothing guaranteed because you've quit on somebody.
And I do
either
think
that or it'd be interesting. And the industry is too desperate for talent for this to happen. Although he is in his early 30s, I think. He's like 31 years old, so it's the end isn't that far away. So probably a pretty stupid move. But
it's like, and anything good you did in your career
overshadowed.
No,
you're the guy who
ever
quit
remember that
forever.
I do think it's crazy
Have
though.
a little impulse control, man.
What Kyler said, it's crazy. I don't know why it's crazy to me, but it is that it was just walking to the locker room and it wasn't more of a show. Because he had like the towel on his head and he had someone on the staff was walking there with him.
He looked like he was at the level 14 pout is what that looked like with the towel on. Deuces, man. Keep on walking.
And it's again, and I mean, this is what happens. Then you get cut for it because it's not the high school thing. Like, hey man, what's going on out there? Like, what's wrong, buddy?
Yeah, we ain't taking.
You mean to talk about it?
Right. We ain't taking the. We ain't taking the time to psychoanalyze you. I'm just having a rough time. I've been starting all year, and then I didn't get to play. I don't feel appreciated. Holla. I mean, you gotta be kidding.
See ya. It's on the chat line.
There's just a code there. I mean,
yeah,
you're a professional athlete.
You are a professional.
Guarantee you can look around the locker room at that guy right there that spends an hour and 10 minutes every game, pregame in the thing, getting taped up and rehabbing and doing all that stuff so he could hobble out there and give it his best shot, and you just pouted. You just pouted your way out of the league.
And I also think like when you it would have been unacceptable if this was a throwaway, only regionally televised game on the noon window. But this is like Thursday night football. To me, is getting tuned into more and more. It's had the better matchups this year than what Monday Night Football has. Sunday Night Football is still kind of, to me, reigning supreme as of right now when you look at the matchups this year. But there have been some great games. You're a standalone game on top of it, so everyone is seeing it. And then it's like, okay, well, what's the one headline? There's going to be more reactive headlines than there is preview headlines, especially with still a day in between from when you played to when the next games are going to be played with Sunday. Oh, man, you just could not – you shouldn't have done it ever, but you could not have picked a worse game to do it or a worse time to do it.
My biggest thing with it is players talk about this all the time. When you're in that locker room, you're not just teammates. It's a brotherhood. You're literally going to battle with each other every Sunday.
You're looking that guy in the eye?
Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go all the way into that. I just thought that story was crazy. Like, what are you doing, dude?
100% what people are talking about today.
Yeah.
100%. I read more about that. I had to keep reading to get through the score last night, this morning, because I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
It sounds like I didn't miss much.
Granted, he wasn't up against, like, did you see Nakua had 4 touchdown receptions last night? Oh, man. Bonkers, Gus. It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3. Back with more next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Oh, a little Christmas remix. Kyler's going crazy back there. DJ Kyler. It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank, Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, and with our play of the day.
First of all, get it right. That's DJ Puddin' in there, man. Let's go.
DJ Puddin'. With our play of the day, DJ Puddin'.
The most highly anticipated featherweight fight of all time.
Conor looks extremely loose, and Aldo looks like he's feeling the pressure of this moment.
Green trunks for the southpaw, the notorious Conor McGregor. Black trunks for the champion, Jose Aldo Jr.
Conor relaxed, smiling.
On this day in 2015, the notorious Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo, one of the most decorated featherweight fighters of all time, with basically one punch. Conor McGregor, given the recent circumstances, you could say what you can want to say about that man, but as a fighter, he was one of the greatest to ever do it. One of the more entertaining guys, one of those who can talk his crap and back it up, and as much as I want to see him fight again, I don't see that happening. But it's crazy to me because it's been 9 years. 9 years since
It's
that
crazy
moment.
that was in 2015.
I know, that's...
I would have said like, oh yeah, back in 2018, 19.
Exactly. Right before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mercy.
Bullfighter said DJ Lil Puddin' Pop. Old Razzle Dazzle said DJ Puddin' is scratching the beats today.
Yeah, that's right.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Things might be getting wild at Tech graduation.
Oh.
This is a picture put up with it. It says the following items and actions are prohibited in the arena, and circled is moshing. Oh man.
Yeah.
Don't let Gus in there.
Yeah, congrats.
Just swing on some folks.
I saw a photo of the several of the athletes, I don't know that every athlete was in there, but all the athletes who are graduating, like walking across that stage. And there was some familiar faces in there. We had Macy Blackburn. We had Taj was in there. Like we had Jacob Rodriguez. Looked like Bailey Maupin in there. And that's selling several others short. Just didn't happen to recognize you from just the first glance there. But yeah, happy for those folks for taking care of business.
Sure.
Because the other thing that does is give you options, man.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line for Mack Leftwich. He doesn't run a NASCAR offense, does he? He runs, if it's true to form to what you saw at Texas State, it was. And now, Grant, here's the thing that's interesting. So he also had a very good back there, but he also had a truly like mobile quarterback in that offense. And I think you've got some mobile guys, but not to the extent that he had there. So does that change like the amount of quarterback run and stuff like that? But that was a part of the game. But it was a lot of run to set up deep vertical play action passes. As far as the NASCAR offense, there was some hurry up in there. And I assume you will see a lot of that here. Again, I don't know if you went through and wanted to go dive through every single game that he's called, even going back to like Incarnate Word when he was the OC there. If you want to go do every single game, I don't know exactly on the percentages of being a balanced run pass offense, what that will stack up with Tech, but he has stated like, hey, he wants to set up the run. And I mean, you're going to see some spread, but you're probably going to see a little bit of NASCAR or a little bit of hurry up there. Not that I would label it NASCAR offense.
We'll call it tempo, but I
don't even know what I couldn't even honestly tell you what the balance of that is going to be, if it's situational or what that would be here.
Don't. And you know what? If we here at Texas Tech haven't learned in the last 18 months to sit here, when was Coach McCaslin? Remember when he was hired and was, oh, great. We're going to go back to 1970s
North
basketball,
Texas
50 to 49 games and blah, blah, blah. and he but he was playing to his talent, right? And they're winning the NIT and beating Power 4 teams along the way, Power 5, I guess then. And, and there's the hand-wringing and the pearl clutching of, oh, gosh, tempo. And so let's not get hung up on style here just yet. Can we play a game first? Can you at least go to the sprint red-black game in April, and then before you get all breathless over tempo or no tempo or...
Well, because if you were worried about the style, let's just say you did something drastically different and it didn't work. We'd still be upset. I just want it to work and be productive and score points. Again, this is the easy thing to say. I want it to work the way it's supposed to work.
Since this has been my move all year long, I'll go ahead and make it my move again. Any thoughts about the defense? Anyone got any thoughts about the defense?
Perfect segue, Gus.
Anyone got any thoughts about the No, but we want to know if the offense is going to run too much tempo or too much air raid or whatever. Hey, offense wasn't the problem last year. Not saying they were perfect. Defense finished 120th in the country. Any thoughts about that? Got to get all the offensive tweets out of the way, all the offensive texts and thoughts out of the way. Anybody got any concerns about it? Too much cover 3.
Perfect pitch to new defensive coordinator, Gus, Sheil Wood. He also met with the media for the first time yesterday, and he gave his thoughts on his decision to come to Texas Tech.
Decision to come here, when Coach McGuire reached out, it was just something I felt like I needed to listen to, and it was a great opportunity with the resource level here, the success that he's already had with this program and a chance to, come to a program that can compete to win a Big 12 championship, hopefully. Obviously, that's the goal, and if you're doing that, you're in the 12-team playoff now. So that was a really great opportunity for me professionally and for our family.
He also talked about defensive success.
I've been blessed to be with some really good coaches and some really good players. So any success that I've had has been a byproduct of being associated with great programs and being around great people, and it's been a team effort. As coaches, we're probably always in a battle of, trying to out-scheme an opponent at times, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, I think I probably learned early in my career from some of the guys that I work with that if you have a foundation of fundamental defense that the guys can play really hard with and have a lot of confidence in, that'll be something that you can win with, and that'll be something that you can fall back to when you have those challenging times that are going to arise throughout the season and certainly within a ball game. So I think hopefully some of those things as we implement what we're going to do here will allow us to lay a great foundation that we can build on throughout the course of the offseason and into the season.
Love it. From the coach's mouth himself. There you go.
Love it.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the don't look at that news story. Don't look. It might be coming up here in 15 minutes. That's so funny. Oh man, I can't wait to tell you what's going on here in about 15 minutes. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Friday. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Don't forget about the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. If you call that number, Kyler will remix a Christmas song for you live over the phone. Pretty incredible. DJ Puddin'. You can also hit us up on the H. Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that, welcome there. We got this on the chat line. Pretty good portal party today. One of those we were talking about in a break. Dalton Merriman.
Yep.
You know where he's going. The old defensive coordinator for an offensive lineman trade as he goes to Houston.
Yeah, and from Houston's perspective, I'm sure it's, hey, we're getting a guy that started 6 games. Mm-hmm. Nice piece, some depth piece. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how I would describe it. Depth, a body. I think that our situation here is dead set on getting better at that position.
Yeah.
And he knows that. And I'm sure they were open in their communication with him about that. And
it felt like he had opportunity to go nail down that spot too, and just that part of why you had some issues there. And I think he like I said, if he would have stayed here, I would have had no problem. There's always room for improvement, and I do think he can be a good piece. It just didn't work out here. And
it's a tough situation too when you know that, hey, they're doing everything in their power to recruit someone better than you. Mm-hmm. And the clock's ticking for him, and he's a Houston area kid, and so for him to land there, and he may very well have been okay with playing at Rice, but instead he gets to play at Houston. Mm-hmm. So it's not a terrible situation for him, but it's a whole lot more fun when those guys leave the conference and go somewhere far away, but we're probably not hung up on a left tackle. I know this. I believe he was the key part of getting his behind kicked in that Colorado game. Mm-hmm. And he, along with several others, but that was the game in which it's like, my goodness, the play at our tackle position is oof. Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of Ole blocking or just getting blown up blocking in that game. This on the chat line. Excuse me. How about Seth Doege? How about new Arizona offensive coordinator Seth Doege? Speaking of guys, that are in the league, nice year. Well, really nice year over at Marshall, being their OC. And, he gets to it'll be interesting to see what he does with the offense over there. I'm sure he would have liked to have seen what that looked like with Teteroa McMillan, but I'm not going to be complaining about it over there. I'll be very interested to see what he does over there with the Wildcats.
I mean, they got to get it going.
Yeah. He's going to immediately go into a tough spot because, man, it took 1 year, one season, and to be honest though, you look at what you're bringing over with Brent Brennan, and it's not like he was even this highly sought after Group of 5 coach. I think he had one maybe winning season. I have to go look back at this with this time before Arizona over at San Jose State. Mm-hmm. I think there was a reason that, like, sometimes you get like, oh, of course you don't like this guy coming over. He's not your guy. I was over here as a just non-Arizona fan going, really? And I get they were on they had a weird clock because of how Jed Fish left them. But already, like, is Brent Brennan going to be there after one season? Right. Legitimate wondering and wanting of him being out over there in Wildcat land. And so that is what Seth Doege is walking into. On top of it, I mean, why were there all these questions again and wanting him to be gone? Well, they didn't have near the year that they thought that they could have over there. And they didn't have everybody from the year before in that final Pac-12 season that was really good. But you look at some of the NFL talent that they had coming into this year, and granted, I think all of us here sat and said, like, they could be vastly different, and they do look like they have some holes. Turns out they had more holes than they had solidified talent over there, or things figured out anyways. That is what is Doege is signing, and don't get me wrong, glad for him to have the opportunity, and I think he's got a very bright career in front of him. But that's going to be a lot of pressure because I don't know how much longer Brennan will be there. I don't know if he can survive a second season as much as they wanted him out over there. If you have anything like this year. Yeah,
it's and he'll have to do it without his arguably. Well, I don't think it's arguably their best player.
Oh yeah,
because he's going to the NFL, and that's no surprise. He'll be.
This isn't him on the offensive side, but again, as far as total body of success, I think you could say without their top two guys, because second Big 12 second teamer Takario Davis on the cornerback spot, he's in the portal. Which, by the way, if he wound up over here in Lubbock, I would not be upset.
Yep.
And again, that's not anything to do with Doege's side of the ball, but as far as total success, and because if there's a new head coach after next season, there's no telling if that next guy that comes in is going to want to keep everybody there, or if he's going to want to start fresh or whatever that'll look like. But I love the opportunity though. For
Doege. My gosh,
that's awesome.
Super happy for him, and I guess there's some Leach tree there because he played for Leach for the 1 year in 2009, I guess. Had that weird game where I think he started. Because we had our first two quarterbacks were out, and but yeah, his big performances, his time as starter came in the Tuberville years, the Neil Brown years. Mm-hmm. But like I said, he would technically be part of the Leach tree, I guess. But there's probably a stronger connection to Neil. Regardless, it's cool. He's a Red Raider.
He was one that knocked Idalou out of the playoffs in 2005 over at Crane.
Oh.
Fun research fact there. You didn't want to know that, but
sure.
Here you go. He was knocked out one season by one Colt McCoy over at Jim Ned. There you go. Just going to keep dropping you fun facts, Gus. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Happy Friday to you. One more hour with us here on Tech Talk. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown behind the glass taking care of us. We are live from the First United Bank studio, and the Visual Edge IT hotline is open, 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that welcome there. Don't forget about Ask Tech Talk, which will be at 5:45 You can watch us in the app just like you can watch us on Fox 34 News now. And also, don't forget about YouTube, where you can also subscribe to our page on Double T Sports Network, where we put up all sorts of fun stuff past just the live stream here. Gus, how much have you been watching Arkansas in the portal?
Not much. I know there was a lot of names.
A lot of names. So I did a little bit of research just because I was, curious. I've known that they've had some pretty big numbers over there. And on some of it, it's like some of their key guys. And so I was trying to get the percentages down of like how much of it. Is it like one or two guys that produced a lot for him this year, and then the rest of them are ones that Pittman would probably want anyways?
Sure.
And it 26 in the portal right now. There was 28. Two of them, including a freshman running back who's really good, rescinded that and say, hey, we want to stay here at Arkansas. But still, 26 right now, and that could still grow.
Yeah,
but
I'm interested in
today.
bowl game impact, not, in 2025, they're going to be with that. I need to know who they're losing to.
And so what I didn't realize on top of that, though, is it looks to me, from my math and what I can tell, there's about 12 players that were difference makers or key contributors on this team that will not be in the bowl game, which is a lot, because it's not just the portal. It is their top running back going to the draft, sitting out of the bowl game. That's Jaquindon Johnson. Andrew Armstrong, their top receiver. He had over 1,000 yards receiving this year. Sitting out, preparing for the draft. Their two top defensive linemen that have combined for just under 10 sacks, like 9.5 when you combine the two, both sitting out, going to the draft. And then you get to the guys that are, and I'm assuming all of these, I don't know what their situation is like fully. If it's any of these guys have a chance that are going to the portal to also play, just because we've seen that with your own program. Most of the time, it's not. That isn't the case. But you've got a couple of offensive linemen that were starters this year. You've got some secondary pieces that were starters this year. It is crazy when you really line up the list. And this is part of what drives people crazy with, this is what we've talked about all week. What drives people crazy with bowl season is like, you never know who's going to show up. But
sure.
As far as the team that's going to, whatever this means to you, as far as the team that is going to look the most like itself from the regular season right now, that is way on your side.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, it's in this bowl situation here, it's I'm gonna go ahead and root for the uniform, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. I think you and I talked about this, like when you're digging through that media guide in 10 years, we might have some familiarity with, didn't Arkansas, but
mm-hmm.
it's not going to be the what's written in the media guide is going to be the final score. Go win the game.
Although it'll be
go win the
interesting.
game and get people excited about 2025.
It'll be interesting to see though how much, because this is a relatively new thing as far as mass portal entries when you think about bowl games. So it really will be like in 10 years, 15 years from now, regardless of what happens in the bowl game, will we have a little bit of a different thought? Not saying like, we beat Arkansas, but look at who all was in the portal for them or who didn't play. But more of a way that we still remember that, though, like maybe like a secondhand thing, like, hey, remember the bowl game against Arkansas in 2024? And then maybe that comes up in conversation, because it's just such a new thing. It's hard to tell as far as, when we look back at these other bowl games, we don't talk about that happening because it hasn't really.
Right.
It's been like the past 4 years, this has been a storyline going into bowl season.
And at the very first, it was key. It was NFL dudes, like the NFL guys going, and you get it, because who was it? Who was it that got hurt late in the? It was the Cowboy linebacker Smith, played at Notre Dame, got hurt.
Jalen Smith.
Yep. And that was one that got everybody like, whoa, because it was a big one. And knee wrecker, season wrecker.
Ole Miss against Baylor, the year that they won the Big 12 championship over Oklahoma State, you saw their quarterback Corral, who was also And he got hurt in the bowl game, and it wasn't quite as bad as I think his was an ankle, but still something that like affected him going into the offseason.
Cautionary.
And
sure.
yeah, and it was like, okay, there's another example.
Right.
Because I remember that being a big thing of going, well, you don't want to do this to yourself. And he was one that's like, no, I don't care about that stuff. I've seen the stories. I'm still going to do it. And he gets hurt in the game.
Yeah, the NFL stuff was first, and now it's obviously heavy portal.
Even with I know it wasn't just the boring bowl game, it was for the Natty, but when Jamison Williams tore his ACL in the national championship, I mean, it happens, and it's really sad to see it, especially if you're not playing for the Natty and you're just in a regular bowl game and you hurt yourself in your potential draft stock in the NFL.
Yep.
Obviously, you still were. I don't want to say like, oh, it's crazy that we haven't heard. I'm just surprised that we still haven't heard much for Taj Brooks' decision and also Josh Kelly's decision. We got Jalen Conyers, and I feel like usually whether it's going to sit out or playing, we get that fairly quickly. It'll be interesting if hopefully we have some news. And I mean, it's up to them. It's not like it's up to us or anything. But hopefully when we come back on Monday, we'll have some news if either of those guys are playing in the bowl game, because it would be nice to see them. But at the same time, you'd at least I would understand if they didn't. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.